This was a great game! Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help, except in times like these. I'm your host, Tom Grossi, and yep, the Packers just lost to the LA Chargers 26-11 in a game where the offense obviously missed the flight and did not show up in any way, shape, or form. But before we get to that, let's do some Patreon shout-outs. Let's do one for Mr. Sean McVay's beard. Simple, yet refined. And also for Colin Curtis. A big shout-out and thank you to both of you for joining the Grossi Posse over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But yeah, let's talk about that offense, because a big yikes is the only way to really define them this evening, as they struggled and could not get a thing going all of the first half, and really in the second half, Rodgers didn't even get going until garbage time. They couldn't establish the run, they couldn't establish the pass. This game was full of just forcing targets to a newly returning Davante Adams. It was just ugly. Now, the offensive line in the first half was shooting themselves in the foot consistently with penalties, with Billy Turner literally just like letting Aaron Rodgers just get murdered over on that right side. It was just horrendous. Rodgers was hurried up multiple times, had 3 sacks against him that evening, and really just a piss-poor performance by the offense. The defense was on the field way too much. The Chargers dominated time of possession, dominated basically every single stat, and it showed. And so kudos to the defense for only holding the Chargers to about 12 points for the majority of the game. And then at some point, just something had to give. Rodgers 23 for 35, the majority of that in garbage time for 161 yards, 1 touchdown. He was very inefficient today. Aaron Jones only rushed 8 times and only got it for 30 yards. A guy who has been the Swiss Army knife of this offense was barely utilized. Lazard, 3 catches for 44 yards. Adams, 7 catches for 41 yards. Jamal Williams had 6 targets. Jamal Williams had 6 catches today in the game. And the defense had 2 sacks. But Jair Alexander letting 2 big plays go by, played the underneath route and completely got blown away. Williams killed them today with just 3 catches, but for 111 yards. Rivers was 21 for 28 on the day for 294 yards. Gordon got those carries that he wanted, 20 times for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Eckler also going 12 for 70. And Hunter Henry having a big game, going 7 for 84. There was a ton of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, like I said before. There was a lack of pressure that was on Phillip Rivers. And so overall, just a really ugly game in which a day where everybody in the NFC North lost. This was a day where we could have gotten 2 games above the Vikings, but we remained just 1 above the Vikings after they lost to the Chiefs. The Bears losing to the Philadelphia Eagles, and of course the Lions losing over to the Raiders. But this was just, there was no rhythm at all the entire game. And this by far was the ugliest game of the season. And you hope that you see this. We're 7-2. Still a great record, still sitting on top of the division. But this is the kind of game that makes you rethink a whole lot. Thankfully, we're going back home and playing against Carolina next week, in which there will be no Cam Newton, even though Carolina was able to pull off a win against the Titans. I don't think that's going to be a walk in the park, considering Christian McCaffrey is a nightmare to try and contend with. But yeah, we got 1 game left until the bye week, and then we have a potentially bye-defining game against the 49ers over in San Francisco. But listen, we play teams like this, we're going to lose every single time. This was a complete and total punch in the mouth kind of game, in which the defense just didn't play really well. The pressure wasn't there. But again, I'm not going to put them all on them, because the offense kept on going 3 and out. But the offense And it's interesting because you had Davante Adams back, and you're like, oh, this is going to add to it. And 4 games without Davante, we won all 4 of those games, and we won them in different ways. Sometimes on the ground, sometimes through the air with the receivers, sometimes the air through with the freaking running backs. And this kind of game was just, I don't even know what the play calling was. It was just horrendous. There was times where we threw the deep ball, and there was times where guys like Kumaro let it go through his hands. But Rodgers didn't look settled today. The running game never got established, and it looked like we were just forcing things to Davante Adams, and it did not work. We became a one-dimensional team, but I couldn't even tell you what kind of dimensional we were, because it wasn't run and it wasn't pass. It was just bad all around. Yikes. Just a big freaking yikes. The Chargers looked like the Chargers they did last year, and we made them look like that after only beating the Bears by 1 point, and that was just because Eddie Pinheiro missed a game-winning field goal. This is not what you wanted to see out of the Green Bay Packers today. And so I hope it's one of those things that you learn from. Someone said in the chat during the stream, we can't go 15-1, so that curse is gone. So hopefully at this point we can kind of recoup and reevaluate what's going on and find ways to get Davante Adams involved in this team without him being the only target on this team. I think there needs to be a balance, what we've shown for the past 4 weeks besides today's game. And overall, just nasty, nasty game. And I hope to move on as quickly as humanly possible. The good thing is, again, the NFC North, everybody lost today. The Seahawks did win, which hurts potential, playoff rankings, but we're going to need to win this division, it seems. With how competitive the NFC as a whole is, we're going to need to win the division. And with the Vikings right on our tails, this was a way to get that 2-game lead, and we failed, and we didn't do that. And so now we just got to hope that we're able to bounce back. We have one more game, which should be a tough game before the bye, and then, and then we go play the 49ers. So, yucky game, but let's bounce back real quick, hopefully. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. We'll be live streaming tonight with the Ravens and the Patriots. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.